Yeah, okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Today is the fifth and final day of the presentations by semester 3 students. Today they are going to make presentations on cultural studies, and in this session, these students are going to make presentations. Let me share a screen and the list of the students. Okay. So, in the same sequence, we will have presentations. Divya Parmar will first make presentation on the production and consumption of culture and power. Power culture. Power culture, is it? Power. I think you need to work on the title or make it still little bit better. Consumption of culture and power culture. Uh, Jheel will read on Paul Virilio's Dromology, the study of speed and the slow movement. Emisha's presentation will be on structuralism and post-structuralism. Mayuri will read on British cultural materialism. Nehalba on 5 types of cultural studies. Nidhi on media culture and cultural studies. Nilay on cultural studies and its 4 goals. Nirav on reading contemporary Indian culture through the lens of cultural studies. And finally, Vachchhalata will read on the circuit of culture. All the students have submitted their presentations in Google Classroom, and through Google Classroom we are having the presentations, and all the students are evaluated on various parameters. That is, the teacher evaluation is based on this rubric given in Google Classroom. So subject knowledge will be tested on these 4 criteria. Then organization of ideas, verbal skills, then mechanics of writing, followed by non-verbal skills, eye contact, body language, and then last 2 parameters about research-based writing. So how the sources are used to prove the point, and how everything is cited. MLS style documentation will be used for that. On these parameters, the teacher evaluation will be there. There will also be a peer and self-evaluation of the presentation. So all the students will be making a self-evaluation and peer evaluation on this online form in the 5-point Likert scale. The evaluation will be made, and we are saying that this way in the previous 4 days presentations, the submission is being made by all the students, and this is how you normally stand in generally in first 4 presentations. How you are judged by your classmates, and your self evaluation also is being reflected there. So this is how normally it is expected that you also learn to practice honesty in evaluation. So that is why this parameter is given, so that you try to practice honesty and evaluate with objective insights. That is very important. Though it has been seen that many times students give full points to themselves and very less to others. So that is not a fair practice. One should learn to be very honest in judgment. You have to see yourself in context of your classmates, how they are presenting or what they have presented. And like everybody has only 1 or 2 points, and the one who evaluates have 5 points, then we are learning something really wrong. Because in future also you will be making the similar kinds of judgments. And if this practice cultivates, and if you think that, well, we are not caught doing this, then you will be confident in doing wrong things. When we do right or wrong, when we are appreciated or not caught, not being caught also is a form of appreciation. So we get confident in doing those things. We should always be confident whether anybody is looking at us or not, whether we are appreciated or not. There should always be a self-evaluation, that how I stand correct, strong in my own judgment. That is always very important, rather than any other things. Whether others appreciates our works or not, that is not as such an important thing. So those are some of the values which needs to be cultivated, and this process is also for that. uh, all these presentations are live streamed also. This is the last day of this season. Batch 2021-23 is making presentations here, and all the previous presentations are made available on this website, on this web page. All the previous presentations are also made available, and these are the recordings now, which were live streamed earlier, but now the recordings of the presentations of all the previous days can be seen, can be watched on this particular website here. This was yesterday's and today's presentation. So we have started live streaming here on this, and in the afternoon session we will have another slot of students making the presentation. So this is going live right now here also. We are streaming live through StreamYard, and we are streaming it on LinkedIn also, YouTube also, and department Facebook page also. So three places we are streaming it live, and this all things are also that we are learning while doing the things. Digital skills are to be honed and sharpened time and again. So we get an opportunity to see how various platforms help in recording, in streaming live, and we also get a practice about digital skilling through this mode also. Okay, so let us start today's presentations with the first presentation. And Divya, you can start sharing your screen and make a presentation.
Hello everyone, myself Divya Parmar. Today is the final day of presentations. I have choose topic the production and consumptions of the culture and relation of power and culture. This is my information. Points to ponder. What is culture? What is cultural studies, production and consumptions of culture, power culture, and conclusion, citation. What is culture? The set of values, conventions, or social practices associated with a particular field, activity, or societal characteristics. The culture, behavior particular to the Homo species, together with the material objects used as an integral part of this behavior. Thus, the culture includes the language, ideas, beliefs, customs, codes, institutions, tools, techniques, works of art, rituals, and ceremonies, among other elements. So culture, these all are the part of the culture. uh, in human society we can see our life is full of these elements. So what is cultural studies? Cultural studies is a field of a theoretical, political, and empirical engaged culture analysis which was initially developed by British academians in the late of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. It is started by the British academians in the era of the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. So it has been taken up or transformed by many scholars in different disciplines around the world. Cultural studies are acknowledged by today as a interdisciplinary subjects as sometimes as antidisciplinary. A cultural study is an innovative multidisciplinary field of research and teaching investigation of culture. It creates and transforms the individual experiences, everyday's life, social relation, and power. So, culture includes the individual experiences, everyday's life, and social relations. In research and teaching, the culture is understood as a human expressive, symbolical activities and distinctive ways of life. It combines the study of a social science and humanities in order to draw methods and theories from literary studies, sociology, communication studies, history, culture, anthropology, and economics. It addresses the new questions and problems of today's world. It is devoted to understand of the process in the societies and diverse group with the history, community life, and the challenges of the future. Production and consumptions of the culture. The cultural studies believes that the culture of a community includes the various aspects in economic, spatial, ideological, erotic, and a political. So, cultural studies therefore aims to include all in its ambit. It seeks to understand how to particular object acquires meaning and value in society or community. So the aspect of economical, spectral, ideological, erotic, and politicals all are the part of the society, and it is part of the culture. So how it is valued by humans in the society or community, and how especially how it valued in the literature. This is the part of the cultural studies. Culture is not a natural thing, it is a produced. Cultural studies is a interest in the production and consumptions of a culture. So culture is a not natural thing. With the birth we get, we start living in the culture, but it is not a natural. It is implied by the society, or we can say that we are learning the culture from the society. The production and consumptions of culture is linked to matters of a class who decides on what is the produced. So, as a part of a society, who is responsible or who is deciding that what is produced in the culture, what should be produced in the culture? Matters of economy, who can afford it? So if something is decided as to be a part of a culture, so who is there to decide that who can afford it as a culture? Matters of a representation, how is the artifact or marketed or presented? So if there is any culture or any term or any system we started applying or we accepting as our culture, or we put it in a practices. So matters of a representation, how we are representing that culture in the society. The production and consumptions of artifacts depends on the ability to do so and the ways in which these artifacts have been marked and sold. In short, culture is a product that is in three parts like made, marketed, and consumed. How the culture is made? and how marketed means we are presenting that culture, and how they consumed that culture. uh, in contemporary times we can see the we can see the effects of the internet on the production of consumptions of culture. And so, the internet's influence on the production and consumptions of the culture, creative destructions, and new opportunities. First, the technologies don't change us; they provide affordance that allows us to be ourselves, to do things we like or need to do more easily. So, as a cultural part, we are doing so many things, but the aid of the technology, it can make the things very easier, and make different in the traditional way as we looking the culture. So, as the availability of this affordness, may changes behavior by reducing the cost in time or money. If we accept the internet, and we can apply as we can apply in the culture, that surely make some changes in our culture. Like certain activities, watching experts from movies or comedy shows, relative to others activities, watching network television. So all these things, with the help of technologies, make some change in the behavior of us, or make the change in the culture, which we as applying in the traditional way. So by technology there is some changing. The internet is moving a target, a product, not only the technological ingenuity, but the economic strategy and the political struggle. So, by the effect of the internet, we can see its effect on the economical strategy and political struggles also. What we think of as the internet in the advanced industrial democracies reflect a particular regulatory regime, through the which states of allocate right to intellectual property, and through the regulation influence of the cost and potential profitably in investments in the different kind of networking and technologies. The internet is a technology that unleashes a powerful opportunities. But the realization of these opportunities is depend on the human being and their culture. So this internet technology, if we started applying or accepting in a cultural in culture, it reflect in our cultural studies. So accepting there by the internet there are so many new opportunities, but it will be helpful when only and when we are accepting these opportunities in our culture, or we accepting this in our behaviors. Power culture, in a narrowly defined version of a cultural studies, the typical questions have been about the production or organization of a meaning as site of power. Cultural processes are important and interesting because they are a medium through which powerful social relationships are played out, in which possibilities for social betterment are opened for closed down. A typical way of posing power questions has been a terms of identity, especially where his identity is seen as a problematic issue, and where individual and collective identities are understood as being always created under a social pressure. So in culture we can find that the relation human beings identity is depend upon the power relation of a power and culture. There is always power behind the identities. The cultural questions can be asked differently. Implicit in the culture as power issue and questions that arise from it is the idea that everyone participates, however unique, unequally in the cultural process of making meaning and fixing the shifting identities. So, by the shifting the power, there is change in culture also. Yet the best known definition of the cultural and perhaps still is dominant one in every use tends to narrow the culture field down to a specialized, often elite, high culture practices and products which are distinguished uh, from the common culture and which are owned by the experts and privileged group. So always our culture as the uh, present as there is some power, the stage of a power which are guide us and they are give a way to represent it, our culture. Conclusion: culture can be defined as the cumulative deposit of knowledge, experience, belief, values, attitude, meanings, hierarchies, religion, notions of time, roles, spectral relations, concept of the universal, and a material object and possessions of acquired by a group of people in the course of generations through individual and group of striving. The production and consumption of culture is interlinked with the power and culture. So we have seen that in production of consumption there are three parts. So by the position of the power, it represent the culture. This is my citation. Thank you.
Yes, questions from Vachchalata.
Divya, my question is what is the role of ideological aspect in cultural studies?
So the role of ideological aspects is that in cultural studies we see the contemporary and history of the society or the culture. So ideological aspects work on that what should be make the what are the problems and what should be the solutions of that. So the ideological aspect works in that context.
Divya, my question to you is that how do you think that need and production are controlled by power structure in culture? So, what is your opinion on that, please?
If we see the culture, like we are living in a democratic society, so as a human being uh, uh, we are not free to do whatever we want. There are some binaries to do anything. So when we see in the context of a culture, the production some rules and some regulations or something which is decided by the person who is in the power or who is in the stage that he tells or give ideas to people how to behave, how to accept that things, and how to make it in their behaviors. So these all things are controlled by power. There is freedom, but when we see as the context of a culture, we are not as much free, and the culture is always the controlled by the power.
Okay, before the next one begins, Divya Parmar. So, your 21 tasks are incomplete in Google Classroom. Yes, Divya? 21. Okay, so, in this upcoming days before your exam begins, it should be completed because before 7th of November, this work should be completed. Okay? Out of 44 tasks in this semester, 21 are incomplete. In your slides, simple errors, simple mistakes, or simple things which should be like made better. Uh, is one thing. There are very simple slides. Only text you have put there. So that is, you have not worked at all on the slides. And only text, not a single image or graphical presentation or infographic you have used in any of your slides. And even the paragraphs are not justified properly. Justification of the paragraph also is not done properly. So this is not the way slides are normally to be prepared. You have to work on your slides, and then you have to present it in a better way. Some graphic, something should be added. Citation things were quite okay. The only thing now required is how to use this resource. You have cited well, but how it can be used, that needs to be seen when you make an arguments. How these things are, you are using this resource to prove your point. That is not there. You are just putting the sources as you found it from the internet. Okay, so next presentation now.
Good afternoon, everyone. In the paper of cultural studies, I am going to present about Paul Virilio's Dromology, the study of speed and the slow movement. This is my information. Beginning with the introduction, I would like to begin with the question. It is almost a midday, and till if we consider our day, then what have we done till now? Was it a qualitative work? The work we have done till today, till the time 11 or 11:30, do you think you did a qualitative work, or it was a mere waste of a day? If we see the number of work we have done since morning, there will be more than 10. But were they putting any moral in our ourselves, or in our work, or in our education? If we go in any competitions, we see that the quality of the work matters. If we are going in a painting competition, and if we do 3 paintings, then it is not considered that the quantity is in the technoculture world, we see that we are running before time. We want to complete our work faster than doing it perfectly. This is happening because of the advancement of the technology. We are seeing that technology is taking our place everywhere. When where there were human work, manual work were happening, now the companies are having good technology that are taking the place of manual work, and as a result, unemployment is seen in our nation. And so now humans are working so hard and so fast to compete with the technology and to keep their position, or maintain their position in their world. Humans need to work hard with the increased speed, or else they will be thrown out of this world. Paul Virilio's Dromology is talking about the cult, is saying about the cult of speed, is criticizing the speed, that how the speed is affecting our society, and the result which we should get if we are not getting. Paul Virilio is a French cultural theorist, urbanist, architect, and aesthetic philosopher. He is best known for his writing about technology, as it has developed a relation between speed and power. The dromology word is derived from the ancient Greek word dromos, which means a race or a racetrack, which Virilio applied in activity of racing. Dromology is a logic of speed. He is reading the cyber culture of 20th century and saying that the advent of technology and media, our lives are in the constant surveillance. We are running, we are fighting for ourselves, and also we are controlled or we are under surveillance. He is giving few points like socio-political institutions need to speed rather than commerce. Socio-political institutions can be like someone who is in authority, someone who is in power. They are working for the development of a nation or a specific region. But the development is majorly done in the upper class, and lower class is staying only in the lower class. There is no change in their life. This is happening because the lack of information reaching to them. We see that there is a very much increment in the transmission of information and transmission of news. It happens in a very fast way. Happens very fast, but the lower class of a society, they are not able to get this news because they have a lack of equipments, and the upper class, they are up to date with the time and they are increasing their lifestyles. And so as the power is sending any message, the upper class is working on it. They are increasing, their wealth is increasing, commerce of power is also increasing, but the lower class is not getting anything. So it is said that socio-political institutes should work in a speed for the development of lower class also. New problems resulting for the fact that the development of industrial capitalism has reached the stage in which wealth and power in the society have been interconnected and ever increasing speed. This is said by a Hoare in his article. New information and communication technology weapons as a pure war. This is another point given by Virilio. His pure war is a type of war which technology or in a way the power of technology is in IT sector is having for human beings. Like technology is taking humans place. They are going they are working so fast that humans are left behind and they are struggling in the life. This is the war by technology, and this is happening because of the new information and communication technology. Speed and technology replaces democratic participation. The speed and technology replaces democratic participation. The speed of no discussions before passing of the laws, passing of the bills, nothing is happening. As a rule, any bill is passed, the discussion happens in a judiciary in a house. But as we have seen in the farm bills of 2021 and CA Act of 2019, this act and these bills were passed so accurately, and in a way they failed also. There were no discussion about it happened in the house. Virilio is also saying that if in this way technology will increase, speed will increase, the local time will change into the global time, which will be globalitarianism. We have seen the totalitarianism in George Orwell's 1984. In global time, in a way, it means that we are all the countries are having their own time depending upon the latitude they are working. But if everything will be one single time will everyone will work according to the single clock, then they will be ruled by one single power. They will be under surveillance by and one single power, which will bring globalitarianism. We have seen that even in the India, if we see that even today in the villages, they are not working on the hands of the clock. They wake when the sun rises and they sleep when the sun sets. But we in the urban area, we work on the hands of clock. Perhaps when we are having a lot of work, we even stretch ourselves in the nights. That is how we have to work to fight for the world. Through this GIF, I would like to say that the world is like a treadmill, and if we don't run with the world, we will fall down. Speeding up in this world is due to technology. Speed conquered and everything over centuries. Speed is not happening only in the work sector or corporate sector. It is seen in the transportation, production, peace and war, men and women, urban and rural, work and leisure time, arts and commerce. Speed is not a phenomena or a situation. It is something happening between the two events, connecting the two events. The difference between contemporary society and societies of the past consists is the fact that earlier speed was used mainly connected with transport. Now it concerns relation with an information. uh, Baudrillard has given an idea of simulacrum. Uh, that is, we are more believing in the images or representation of the images than the truth. And here also, by the increase of speed in information, we are losing our trust on the eye reality. We are more believing whatever the news or images we are getting. Many a times we see that we get an image of some places, we feel it is so beautiful, and when we visit that place, we realize that it is not, there is nothing like extraordinary in this place. More becoming more important for us. For an example, virtual games, horror house, 90 cinemas, which gave us a beautiful feel of whatever we are seeing. We are not we can't go for the feeling of natural things, and so we go for the use of 90 cinemas. What Due to this speeding up of information and speeding of the technology, there is the scarce. For an example, we are taking scarcity of something will come in the society. For an example, if it comes a scarcity of food, we speed up, and we got a greenhouse effect. As a result, we used fertilizer, but what happened at the end, quality of the food is reduced. It is also the same example is given by Ulrich Beck in his work Technoculture and the Risk, that technology will bring risk to the society. Well, risk is solution and risk, but still we see that in getting something very fast, becoming speedy, the quality will decrease and quantity will increase. In the counterculture of this increasing of the speed, the new culture began around 1986 with 1986 by Carlo Pantry, who launched the slow food movement in 1986 as a protest of mass produced and unethical food. Counterculture, this slow movement culture doesn't mean that you don't have to work or you be lazy, but it focuses on the quality of a life or one person should live. What they are doing should be done focused. Uh, as on Carl Andre has said, it is a that slow movement culture is a cultural revolution against the notion that faster is always better. The slow philosophy is not because everything at snail's pace. It's about seeking to do everything at the right speed.
Yeah, to reconnect and see again. There is this fluctuation in internet today a lot, so it is getting disconnected several times. Yes, reconnect, add again in that, and then share the screen again.
Are my screen visible? Okay, as we were referring to the definition given by Henri, savoring the hours and minutes rather than just counting them, doing everything as well as possible instead of as fast as possible. It's about quality over quantity in everything from work to food to parenting. there is a web page of this the World Institute of Slowness, and its initiator has said, don't live life as if you are afraid of being late or over to your own funeral. We see that even during our exams we are more counting to the pages that when we will complete our reading, instead of focusing on what we read, and whatever we read should be read in a qualitative way. Faber has said that time poverty a modern malice. Time poverty is we time and again keep on complaining about we don't have time, we aren't able to manage the time. Time management becomes difficult for us, and especially when we get more than 2 or 3 works to do in a small period of time, and it is becoming the malice of today's time. In the slow movement, it's not only about living a quality life, but slowness in education, which is focusing on the quality of education student is getting rather than the marks. Slow parenting, in which the parent should not, which says that parents should not overstress a student child to be perfect or do everything. Slow TV, we generally, when we see the Satyajit Ray's movies, it becomes difficult difficult with that pace of of the movie, because we are of South in slow traveling. Slow traveling doesn't mean moving from one place to another place, taking a long time, but stay wherever you are. Say that we have developed an inner psychology of speed, of saving time and maximizing efficiency. What do? We do no. We speed up them, don't we? When we want to do something good, we speed up the process. When we want to do something good, we speed up the process. When we want to do something good, we speed up the process. Gives enjoyment to our body, and so for an example, when we are sitting in a ride, we like to stay busy because we love to keep our head busy with distractions. Once we will get free, the variety of thoughts will capture us from all the sides, and it becomes difficult to keep our mind healthy with all that negative thoughts. Cultural taboo of being called lazy. If we don't work, the society will call us lazy and not doing any work, and this thing haunts everyone, and so everyone loves to do work faster. Uh, this theory of slow movement behind this slow movement culture is the desire of connectedness, good quality of food and living, healthy body and healthy mind. And this concept is already present in the in Indian concept of Ayurveda, which is more than 5,000 years older, which is talking about the balance and stability of the body and the mind. Ayurveda is already asking people, or used to, and is that they should do yoga, some exercise to keep their body active, and if body is active, mind will also stay active. In the moving towards the conclusion, slow life pulls in the opposite direction to the dominant Western principle of the market expansion. The slow life, if everyone starts following the slow life, it will be harmful, or it will be deteriorating to the market expansion, because everyone will stop where they are. They will go for a quality, then they will learn to live a minimalistic life, and this all everything will harm to the market. Medicine for increasingly uh, at Okay, this slow movement will be a medicine for the urban living because they need more patience. In urban society, we see that the late night walks and early morning things. We work on a clock or before a clock. We don't live as a village lifestyle where if work is done, then done, not done, then it's fine. There are no deadlines or nothing. We have not forgotten the story about tortoise and the hare, where the tortoise being slow has won, and the hare, a rabbit, which is considered to be running fast, has lost. But here the thing is to see that slow and steady wins the race if only if he or only if it stays dedicated to the path and goes for a qualitative walk and continue their work. No, sometimes it happens that when we have a lot of work, we get so much stressed out, frustrated that we don't get an idea how to start, where to start, and that results in a mere waste of time. Instead of if we have a patience and start our work, that gives more qualitative result. This idea is in the favor of elite society because elite society are economically, socially and culturally stable. The developed country like France and Sweden who have financial security can go for this slow down movement. The nations like India, the third world countries who still need to grow and speed up, because if they will slow down, then they have to go for an idea like as we have our internet backup, they provide us 1.5 GB every day and we use it. Then if government don't give employment to the youth and wants them to live happily without asking for a job, then around 500 or 1000 or 1500 to every citizen of the nation, and will be allowed to have their expenses limited to it. That how we limit our internet usage to 1.5 GB. We have to limit our expenses to the money which will be given by the government, and if not used, the government will take that money back. As our data not used, it remains as it is not rolled on. These are my suggestions. These are my citations.
So, Jill, my question is that what would you like? Sorry.
Jill, what would you like to prefer as mentioned in Virilio's theory? Slow movement or speed movement?
In a quality of food, increasing our quality of food, quality of living, but it can be easily achieved as in our age, as we don't have other societal works in getting involved in the society. So we can improve our we can give a qualitative result. We can give a qualitative result, but to sit down in a slow down movement won't be good for us, because stand in this world where everything is multitasking and everyone is growing from all the parts.
So, Jill, as you have mentioned,
good thing that it helps human to develop. But on the other side, we see that humans are not skilled enough to work with the technology which is growing fast. So if technology is growing, on the other hand, humans should also get molded or skilled, get an exposure of the technology so that they can cope up with this technological speed. Thank you.
So you have four works pending out of 44 in Google Classroom.
Is it visible? So today we are having a very wider topic, that is cultural studies, and I am going to make my presentation on this structuralism and post-structuralism. Um, So first, Pramod K. Nair has noted in his book that is Structuralism in Cultural Studies asks us to look at the rules that govern meaning formation through a system of differences and relations between signs and their contexts. So we know that how the structuralism is putting the point on the speaking rather than writing. And I would like to put here the once Derridian thought for the traditional statement of language, that he in one of the interview he was telling that uh, when I go to the traditional language, I find that traditional language is in itself lying in itself. And then he is telling that a written language is a deadly part for me. So, what structuralism does? How human behavior is determined by cultural, social, and psychological structures. A single unified approach to human life that would embrace all disciplines. Structuralism get existed into the 19th century when the psychological field was on the stage of growing up, and structuralism is the theory which is studying by the various kind of fields, that is cultural, social, and psychological. Mainly it is depend on the cognitive psychological meanings of the text or of the work of any kind of fields. Who are the literary figures in the structuralism? uh, Mainly structuralism is going with the main figure, that is Ferdinandi Saussure, and there are so many names we have to mention when we go to the
That is disconnected. So reconnect and Yes, it is connected now. Then you have to share the screen.
So, who are the literary figures in structuralism? Structuralism is a theory which was born by the Ferdinand and Saussure, but there are so many literary figures who have contributed to this theory. That is Roland Barthes, Jacques Derrida, Jacques Lacan, Sigmund Freud, who is very big name in the field of psychology, Michael Foucault, and Louis Althusser. This is the reference from the research work of Membrol, and he is claiming that Jacques Derrida explored the possibilities of absolute literature that we have seen that in the very beginning of my presentation I have quoted his point of view in that. And Jacques Lacan studied psychology in the light of structuralism. And structuralism to create his own brand of social analysis. So from this we can come to know that every social, cultural, psychological, every field is adopted the theory of structuralism. Structuralism is fundamentally depend on three functions, that is arbitrariness, rational, and systematic. Four major theories in the field of structuralism. First is two terms that have become common currency in the linguistics, that is parole and langue. Parole is something which is concrete, physical, we can say, or the speech of the individual person, the person who is and the langue is the system underlying the speech activity. How to speak, that is the process of langue, and which is very abstract. We can feel, but we cannot have a proper physical understanding of that process. Second is signifier and signified process, that is given by Derrida, and he is going with this idea like signifier and signified make it possible together to understand the object, that is sign. Signifier is the physical existence, sound, word, image. When we heard such kind of word, that tree, so we can imagine in our mind tree. And signified is something which is signified is just like that. Our what is our mental come to know that particular object. Arbitrary relationship between signifier and signified. From this field, we can come to know that there is no particular kind of signified, because signified is something individual can feel that. Binary relationship between words, we know that binary oppositions are working very well when we go through this process, that is opposition. Something we heard like black, we can come in our mind first come white, so that is the contradiction, binary opposition. So when we go to the take two arguments, that first is work and text. In the old time, uh, in literature, the poem or literary work come as a work, not the text, and then the structuralism came with the particular kind of text. And now for example we can take metaphysical poetry. So in olden time it was work, but now it is text. So it as well as it become a text to the audience, it is make us open to study conflict of meaning by the changing time. According to Membrol, Roland Barthes, who claimed the term for a while, who was a literary critic and wrote about the death of the author. Now, in a new criticism, we all know that there is no path of the studying any kind of text with the author or the reference of author. He argued the author could not claim to know that what his or her book was about any more than the reader. Again, the idea that there was a hidden reality, hidden to the reader but known to the author. The author is knowing, but the reader is not knowing, was challenged, and instead a view of the text presented which was available to all equally. And the second argument is that unconscious is the structuralism. That is, I have put the point of view of the John Mann from his research work, that he is claimed that Jacques Lacan, a psychoanalyst who claimed that the unconscious is structured like a language, is widely seen as a major structuralist thinker. He claimed to be returning to Freud. We know that Freud has given the theory of id, ego, and superego, and which is working on the conscious and unconscious mind. So, the Lacan is going to the very late figure of psychology field, that is Freud, and he has citing the Freud even here, and be working against the Americanization of psychoanalysis with its emphasis on ego psychology. He emphasized the role of the unconscious by showing that the I is not a means individual one, is not a centralized core ego, but a depressed, dispersed, fragmented, and interrelated unknown, that unknown unconsciousness. Now we know that we have, if we want to go to the center, we have to make first marginalized ways, but there is no such thing like a center. It is like fragmented parts in itself. So our unconscious is also like that. We don't know that what is going on in our unconsciousness. Now we are going to the post-structuralism. In 19th century, if we see to the every theory that like colonialism, then after that come to the post-colonialism. The same way, structuralism came, and to the that in that field, to the more opposition way, the post-structuralism theory came into the existence. Post-structuralism is a literary movement, and post-structuralism is a theory. There is a very interesting way of writing post-structuralism that I have noted, that if you are writing with a hyphen between post and structuralism, then you are talking about a literary movement which has happened in the history. And if you are talking without hyphen, that is post-structuralism, that will be as a theory. You are mentioning the features and various aspects of that. Post-structuralism was reaction against structuralism movement, as I said, and they tried to break all the aspects of structuralism. That is like, first, the post-structuralism came. The Derrida has came into existence with his personal theory, that is deconstruction. Meaning is not constant; it is constantly changing.
Connected. There's lots of instability in the internet today. Hmm? It's extremely distressing.
Now screen is visible. Yes.
Yes, you can continue.
Okay. So for that, post-structuralism and meaning is not constant, and it is constantly changing. So we now know that structuralism was talking about only the meaning, and there is a very interesting point of view Pramod K. Nair has noted in his book that is example a cape of worn on the head as opposed to the shoe which is worn on the foot. Cotton clothing in worn in summer as opposed to the woolens which are worn in winter. Notice here that the binaries are between items of clothing and between seasons and cultural context. That is clearly a structure at work. So one have to be take one has to take a reference. If we take a reference by the processing of understanding or getting meaning to the one word, that is if we see that a cape is one on the head, so the idea automatically come by the way of binaries, that is the opposite of a shoe. We cannot cape wear in the foot. So in by that example we can come to know that how structuralism was going to the um, meaning that is constant, but post-structuralism came into the way, and it has broken the idea, and it is going with the constantly changing meaning. By Derridian thought of difference, language is not a transparent medium that connects one directly with the truth or reality outside it, but rather a structure or chord whose parts derive their meaning from their contrast with one another and not from any connection with the outside world. What are the major claims of post-structuralism? They are claiming four major claims. That one is first is identity and meaning are based on difference. Uh, if we if we go to the example that was previous one was about the cotton cloth. So we have to take another meaning of, we have to have the meaning, another meaning or sense of the seasons, and by that we can come to know the original meaning of the that original word. Identity and meaning are never stable or unified. As we have seen in my previous slide, identity and meaning always depend on some other term or concept which is need present in this term. Fourth is there is no final meaning, because each time you arrive at a set of key terms or meanings, you discover that you need to move on to more words. As we have discussed that we have to go to the other words, more words, to get meaning of that but given word. Let's have a look to the activity that is noted in the Pramod Nair's books, that is think of defining the inside of your house, of delimiting the boundaries of the house. Can you define it without referring to the outside world, the roadside and or the next house? Can you draw the boundaries of your house without also marking the boundaries of that is not inside in your territory? And now ask, how are we distinguish between inside and outside? Are we inside and outside mutually dependent? So Nair is by this activity he is making make us understanding the point of view that in outsider context we have to take to understand the inside context. Then post-structural is believing into the no binary opposition. If we take an example of contemporary time, that in social media, if we that is private and private and public. So if there is a photograph and you are that is private of your photo, you are having in your gallery, that is private, and as soon as you put into your social media account, it will be public. So that is no binary opposition nowadays, that post-structuralism is claiming. Speech and writing are complementary. As you know, structuralism was believing in one or denying for another. So now post-structuralism is giving the importance to both the complementary, that is speech and writing. So these are my work citation. Thank you.
Have you posted the question? Even the stream is also, it is not visible in the stream also. That is-
Emisha, my question is: you have given many differences between both the ideas about post-structuralism and structuralism. But if you are asked to explain in one word that how will you differentiate post-structuralism from structuralism, then how will you give in that idea which is rejecting post-structuralism?
In one word I cannot say that, because there are many similarities between both of them, but there are many differences. Like structuralism came first, and to oppose that, post-structuralism came next to that. But structuralism was more open rather than post-structuralism, in the sense of meaning is high of
So
idea
Emisha,
of post-structuralism is having idea of inside context and outside context, and structuralism is not having that idea. And in that sense I can say that post-structuralism is more wider.
so Emisha, my question is that you have mentioned in your one of the slide that four theories about. So the fourth theory was binary relation with word. Yes. So Emisha, in your slide, you mentioned that the four theories. So the fourth was binary relation with word. Can you throw some light upon that?
Having a binary opposition theory in our unconscious term in our mind. And when we suppose when we heard darkness, the light will come automatically in our thought, because contradictory unconscious term is there. By the Freud is giving that idea, but though the post-structuralist has denied for that. And as I given the example of public and private, so nowadays they are claiming that it is not working. But as Freud has given the idea, so it will be last long, that because our conscious and unconscious will be last long.
So even in this present, there are lots of text was there, missing infographic image, that things were missing. So don't learn, because I'm worried that once you will find an easy way to make PPTs, you will start making that only. and then the other people who come behind you, they also will say that this is easy. Why should we take lots of pain in preparing slides? So don't go back to this. Make a habit that even the benchmark that is there, it is never lowered from some level of making slides. If you come down to this after this is your 15th presentation, in this MS studies only. And how do you connect this with cultural studies that you have to concentrate more? How is it not this, because this is a paper of cultural studies, not of criticism.
Sir, in slide I have not mentioned, but
Hmm.
while the at this book of reference, I already mentioned in my first.
In slides, because you have to differentiate. Once the slides will be uploaded on SlideShare, how will you be there to tell people that this is not a criticism paper but of cultural studies paper? So visualize lot many things. Don't only visualize one thing, but visualize the things, that where the things will go, how will it get reflected. You will not be present everywhere to justify the things. So here the concentration should be on cultural studies. These are the theories which are used in that.
Hello, myself Mayuri, and this is fifth day of our presentation, cultural studies, and my topic is British culture materialism. What is cultural studies? It is hard to define a cultural study arising from the social turmoil of 1916. Cultural study is a composed of element of Marxism, post-structuralism, postmodernism, feminism, gender studies, anthropology, sociology, race, ethnic studies, film theory, urban studies, public policy, popular cultural studies, and post-colonial studies. Those fields that concentrate on a social and cultural forces that either create a community or cause a division and alienation. Five type of cultural studies. First is British culture materialism. Second, new historicism. Third, American multiculturalism. Fourth, postmodernism and popular culture. And fifth, post-colonial studies. British culture materialism. Culture materialism refers to Marxist orientation, new historicism, characterized by analysis of any historical material within the politicized framework in a radical and subversive manner. Culture materialism emphasizes the study of historical context, looking at those historical aspects that have been described or silent in other narrative of histories. Thought an analytic theoretical approach backed by political commitment arising from the influence of Marxist and feminism perspective, and thus executed a textual analysis from reading that critique of traditional approaches, especially on a uh, canonical text. A cultural study is a culture materialism was orientated by Marxist theory, and some text which say about history, political event, or silent on the text. They are studying British culture materialism. Cultural study is referred to as a culture materialism in Britain, and it has a long tradition in the later 19th century. Matthew Arnold sought to redefine the givens of British culture. Edward Bennett Taylor, pioneer anthropological studies, primitive culture, argue that culture or civilization taken in its wildest and ethnographic sense, it is complex whole which include a knowledge, belief, art, morals,
law, custom, and any other capability and habits acquired by a man as a member of society. It is connected with humans who are connected with societies. Claude Lévi-Strauss influenced a mood British thinker to assign a culture to primitive peoples, and they with the work of British scholar like Raymond Williams to attribute a culture to the working class as well as elite. Williams memorably states that there are no mass, there are only ways of seeing people as a mass. Britain have a true trajectory to see that British culture, materialism, first was going towards bad, and other trajectory was moving
Yeah, it seems there are spikes coming in StreamYard, so it is getting crashed.
Raymond Williams applauded that richness of colonial text such as Lewis promoted, but also found they could since erase certain communal forms of like inspired by Karl Marx. British theorists were also influenced by George Lucas, Theodore Adorno, Louis Althusser, Marx, Mikhail Bakhtin, and Antonio Gramsci. They were especially interested in a problem of cultural hegemony and its a many system of domination related to literature. How the elite class dominated the literature also, not only the society, but they are also dominated a literature. For a Gramsci, an Italian Marxist, for example, they got a concept of cultural hedge fear that referring to the relation of domination not always visible as such. Williams noted that hegemony was a sense of reality for most people beyond which it is very difficult for a most member of society to move. But the people are not always victim of hegemony, they sometimes possess the power to change it. Culture materialism is engaged in a process of renewing our images of past, revisiting the past, the carry out this work to a different ends. New historicism aims to show that which era or period has its own conceptual ideological framework, that people of the past did not understand the concept like individual, God, reality, or gender in the same way that we do now. Culture materialism aims to show that our political and ideological system manipulate image texts of the past to serve their own interest, and that this image and text can be interpreted from the alternative and radical indifference perspective often constructed by places those image or text in their historical context. In the early era or historical early era or old age texts, we they are not studied like we are studying with the gender role, with the class, with the God perspective, reality, individualism. We are study on nowadays we are study those texts. Althusser insisted that ideology was ultimately in the control of people, that they maintain a function of ideology to the reproduce the society exciting relationship of production, and that the function is even carried out in a literary text. And ideology must maintain in this state of affairs if the state and capitalism can continue to reproduce themselves.
And also Althusser said that the popular culture merely connected with cultural ideology. We seen the example of Chetan Bhagat, a popular literature, but merely connected with a cultural ideology, and some Indian example who going to the past or British culture, materialism going towards past. In a power and male dominating society with the patriarchal structure, make a decision for a woman with the absence of woman. And another example I was going about Manusmriti, and our Indian, or I can say that our Hindu culture, we portrayed women as a in a patriarchal structure as an inferior, or a family are more superior, and especially male father, brother, husband are more superior than females. In the two shlok, Tasma Detaha Sada Pujya Bhushanam, Achadan Ashaneha, Bhuti, Kamare Nare Nitya Satkareshu, Utsaveshu Cha. Men who seek their own welfare should always honor on a woman on festival with gifts, ornaments, clothes, and a good food. Women always need something else, not only ornaments, cloth, and eating items, but our Hindu culture always portrayed that if a male giving something, then women always like that, like those things. And second slok, Pitrubhirah Bhatrubhishah Cha Etah Pratibhira Devaresa Devareshasa Tatha Pujya Bhushita Vyashacha Bahu Kalyanam Ishpa Ishpasubhishah. Women must be honored and adorned by their fathers, brother, husband, and brother-in-law who desire their own welfare. And also this law telling that a woman must be honored with all the males, no women's on that work citation. Thank you.
Yes, Mayuri, you have mentioned in your one slide, that is Raymond Williams quote, that is, there are no masses, there are only ways of seeing other people as masses. In which sense Raymond Williams has stated this, related to your presentation?
Raymond Williams said that quote on culture and society in a 1989. I think this was published, or it was related with uh, labor class and upper class or elite.
Yes, who is asking the next question?
Okay, Mayuri, Raymond Williams is considered to be a prominent figure of cultural studies. So, what was his general view towards the culture?
Raymond Williams' general idea about elite class contemporary event, which we show, but we never realized that it was connected with cultural studies. And another thing, like he was uh, I can say that he was a cover everything which around us on cultural studies. And another thing, he was telling that every text have their historical events and political side. But uh, earlier we never read that. But with the cultural study, we read those aspects.
Good morning, everyone. Today is fifth day of our presentation, and my topic is five types of cultural studies. Introduction: Cultural study is one of the more controversial intellectual formations of the 1990s and the first decade of the third millennium. It has experienced a period of rapid growth in the academy, appearing at many universities in a variety of forms and locations. At the same time, it has been broadly attacked both from inside the university and outside academia. Definition: there are at least five distinct uses of cultural study, making it difficult to know exactly what people are attacking or defending. It has been used to describe along or in various combinations any progressive cultural criticism and theory, replacing a critical theory which served it as the umbrella term of the 1980s. The study of popular culture, especially in conjunction with the political problematic of identity and defense. What is a cultural study? Cultural study is an interdisciplinary field that examines how cultural practice and meaning are product in a society over a period of time. They also look at how these meanings keep changing over time and how these practices and meanings are circulated and exchanged. According to cultural studies, culture is not understood just a text or an artistic product like a movie, music, play, or book, but it is a dynamic and complexly patterned way of life. Five types of cultural studies: British cultural materialism, new historicism, American multiculturalism, postmodernism and popular culture, postcolonial studies. British cultural materialism. Cultural materialism is a literary theory in cultural studies. Strass is original to the work the left-wing literary critic Raymond Williams. Cultural materialism makes analysis based in critical theory in the tradition of the Frankfurt School. Cultural materialism emerged as a theoretical movement in the early 1980s along with New historism, an American approach to early modern literature with which is a shared common ground. New historicism. New historicism is an approach to literary criticism and literary theory based on the premise that a literary work should be considered a product of the time, place, and historical circumstances of its composition rather than as an isolated work of art or text. It has its roots in a reaction to the new criticism or formal analysis of works of literature, which was seen by a new generation of professional critics as ignoring the greater social and political consequences of the production of literary texts. American multiculturalism. Multiculturalism related to the communities contain multiple cultures. The term is used in both ways, either descriptively or informatively. It usually refers to the simple fact of cultural diversity. It is generally applied to the demographic makeup of a specific place, sometimes at the level of organization. Postmodernism and popular culture. Postmodernism and popular culture brings together 11 recent essays by Angel M. Korobis in a collection which deals with the issue with which have dominated cultural study over the last 10 years. A key theme in the nation of power, modernity as a space for social changes and political paternal. MC Roby explored everyday life as a site of immense social and physical complexity, to which she argued that cultural studies scholar must return to a ethic and empirical work, the sound of living voice and spoken language. Postcolonial studies constitute a major intervention in the widespread revisions project that has impacted academia since the 1960s, together with such other counter-disciplinary courses that are within academic and disciplinary organizations as cultural study, women's studies, Chicano studies, African American studies, gender studies, and ethnic studies. Citations. Thank you.
Nehalba, my question is that can you explain a new historicism approach in the context of literary criticism, as you have taken the reference of that in your slide, uh, through cultural studies?
New historicism approach in the text, literary, cultural studies, women studies, African American studies, gender studies.
Nehal, in your presentation, you mentioned that cultural studies are controversial. How can you elaborate that?
So still at the end of the fifth day also, there's not much of a change. What was told to you on the first day, the same way you are not able to answer simple questions also. So you need to work hard, concentrate on your studies, work hard. This is the third semester, and now only one semester is left, and we don't see that any improvement will come if you will not try to work on your own. Okay, next.
It's visible. Hello everyone. Today is the last day of our presentation. My presentation topic is media culture and cultural studies. This is my personal information. Introduction. The Media and the Cultural Studies program emphasizes the study of media in their historical, economic, social, and political context, focusing primarily on sound and screen media, television, new media, film, popular music, radio, video, games, but racing out across the boundaries in the media and culture, encourage the interdisciplinary and transmedia and research. What is the meaning of media culture? Media culture refers to the current Western capitalist society that emerged and developed development for the 20th century under the influence of mass media. The term allies briefly to overall impact and intellectual guidance used by the media, not only the public opinion but also on the taste and value. Media culture is a society or culture that has been heavily influenced by mass media, whereby a communication occurs instantly across massive populations. What is cultural studies? The cultural study is a field of theoretically, politically, and empirically engaged the cultural analysis that culture upon the political dynamic of a contemporary culture is the historical fundamental defined threat, conflict, and continuous cultural study connection with the Marxism, the new historicism, multicultural culture upon post-modernism, popular culture, and post-colonial studies. Difference between cultures and a media culture. Cultures has a very blurred meaning and there is a no longer or a true meaning of the word culture it as it can take many forms. Media is referred to as a way of communication to the public and a way of transmitting to the culture and which the elite would like to transmit upon the public. Four types of media. There is four types of medias. First, print media. The second is broadcasting media. Print media is a newspaper, magazine, books, banners, etc. And broadcasting media is a television, radio, films. Third is internet media. There are socials or social network or website. And fourth is out of home media, is a online media. Media cultural studies. Media study is one of the disciplines that focus on implementation of media studies concept and the uses of theory. There are two types of criteria in the media studies: is liberal pluralist media studies and critical Marxist media studies. Marxist also has some assumption about the media. One of them is the mass media is owned by the bounding and the media operates in the accordance with the common interest of the bodies. In the addition, Marxist also assumes that the media promotion is a fair connection to the workers. And another is the media becomes the tool of class struggles for the media is divided into three approaches in the Marxist perspective. First, the structuralist approach examines the science in the media to show that the media is including to serve on the domestic group. The second, the political economics approach sees that economics factors influence of the politics. And third, the culturalist approach sees that the media has the powerful impact in the construction public awareness. According to Start explained that media as a cultural studies are basically trying to criticize the thinking about the reality and what is called real is our daily cultural life. The whole tries to explain that cultures can be formed by anyone who wants to it. Concept of cultural studies. There are three concepts of cultural studies that proposed by Hall. Cultural practice is a society that products meaning. Cultural representatives meaning have a certain materialistic attached to a sound, writing, or message or symbol, object, pictures, books, magazine, and television programs. Cultural studies and media culture. So, the studies youth subculture, British culture studies demonstrate how cultures came to constitute distinct form of identity and group member. Cultural studies. Media cultures provide the materials from construction view of the world, behavior, and even the identities. Those who uncertainly follow the dictates of media culture tend to mainstream themselves, conforming dominant fashion's value and behavior. Yet, cultural study is also interested in how subculture groups and individuals resist dominant form of culture as identity and creating their own style and identities. Cultural studies instead that culture must be studied within a social and relation system. Cultural studies show how media culture articulates the dominant value, political ideology, and social development in their era. Impact of media culture on society. Different society has a different media system and they are set up by law influence how the society work. Difference from the communication including media and the mass media give the shape of structure on society. Media culture help reinforce the hegemony and power of specific political, culture, and economic group. They are representative media are suggestive and provocative. Audience reception and use of media culture. Media culture provide materials for an individual to create identities and meanings in cultural studies. Dedics use the cultural forms. Teenagers use video games and music, television as an escape from the demands of the disciplinary society. And males use support as the train of fantasy identification in which they feel empowerment. Their team of star triumphs. To conclude, cultural studies focus on media culture because it assumes that the media are very significant contribution to ideologies and a political culture. Media culture mostly supports to the hegemony and a specific power of groups. This is my work site.
Nidhi, what are what are media and cultural studies?
Media and cultural studies, I can say about my presentation that media is a view upon the we see and the history and the new idea and how media has support to be identify our role in just the society. So media and cultural studies are more important in today's life.
Nidhi, what is your view? Media help us to understand the cultural studies.
According to my view, media is a full support to understanding the cultural study because today we know that media is show us the news about the whole world and as we study in culturally that media shows to realities of the world and he say about the new way of historically that media is mostly help to understand the cultural studies.
Hello, I am Nilay Rathod, and in cultural studies, I am going to present on cultural studies and its four goals. So, starting with definition of cultural studies. So, M.H. Abraham, in his glossary of literary terms, explains that cultural study designates a cross-disciplinary enterprise for analyzing the conditions that affect the production, reception, and cultural significance of all types of institutions, practices, and products. Among these, literature is accounted as merely one of many forms of cultural signifying practices. A chief concern is to specify functioning of social, economical, and political forces, power structure that are said to produce the diverse forms of cultural phenomena and to endow them with their social meanings, their acceptance as truth, the modes of discourse in which they are discussed, and their relative values and status. According to Dictionary of Critical Theories, cultural studies is an interdisciplinary approach to the study and analysis of culture, understood very broadly to include not only specific texts but also practices and indeed ways of life. In this, the most influential works are, according to Ian Buchanan, Lawrence Grossberg, Carrie Nelson, Paula Treichler, uh, Treichler's The Mammoth Cultural Studies, and introductory textbook like John Fiske's Reading the Popular. These works reflect not only the heterogeneous nature of work, calling itself cultural studies, but the fact that in a very real sense, cultural studies is theoretically provisional and avant-garde. As Patrick Bartlinger has pointed out, that cultural studies is not a tightly coherent, unified movement with fixed agenda, but it is a loosely coherent group of tendencies, issues, and questions arising from social turmoil of the 1960s. Cultural studies is composed of elements of Marxism, post-structuralism, and postmodernism, feminism, gender studies, anthropology, sociology, race, ethnic study, film theory, urban study, public policy, popular culture studies, and post-colonial studies. So here Patrick is saying that cultural studies is not tightly coherent, meaning he is saying that cultural study is not studying only the culture, but only one culture, but it is also studying many different works on and the theories like Marxism and so on. Cultural studies was initially developed by British Marxist academics, Birmingham University, and it was first also established in the Birmingham University, and so that term came to known as a Birmingham School of Cultural Studies. Cultural studies avoidedly and even radically interdisciplinary and can sometimes be seen as anti-disciplinary. A key concern for cultural studies practitioners is the examination of the forces within through which socially organized people conduct and participate in the construction of their everyday lives. A cultural study as a field was when Richard Hoggart used the term in 1964 in founding the Center of Contemporary Cultural Studies at University of Birmingham. Four goals. First is cultural study transcend the confines confines of a particular discipline such as literary criticism, meaning it is multidisciplinary. Second, cultural study is politically engaged. Third, cultural studies denies the separation of high and low culture or elite and popular culture. Fourth, cultural study analyzes not only the cultural work but also means of production. So the first one, that is cultural study transcend confines of a particular discipline. So cultural study is not bound by any discipline or a field, but as editor Lawrence Crossberg Nelson and has emphasized that intellectual promises of cultural studies lies in attempt to cut across diverse social political interests and address many of the struggles within current scenes. Cultural study combines variety of political engaged critical approaches drawn including semiotic Marxism, feminism theory, anthropography, post-structuralism, post-colonialism, social theory, film video studies, and many of the media studies. Cultural studies are interdisciplinary, which means that they are not restricted to any one domain, but also include the critic's personal relationship to the discipline being analyzed. Henry Gero and other write in their Dalhousie Review Manifesto that cultural studies practitioners are resisting intellectuals who see what they do as emancipatory project because it erodes the traditional disciplinary divisions in most institutions or higher education. Second, it is politically engaged. So now we are going to see that how it is politically engaged. So as we know that society operates in within many structures. One of them is a culture, politics, religion, and so on. So here we can see that culture and political structure are somewhere within woven together. Society is formed into power of hierarchy, which raises issue of social inequality or power as a system of symbol. As Wilfred Buren has noticed, cultural studies questions inequalities within power structure and seeks to discover models for restructuring relationship among dominant and a minority or subaltern discourse, because meaning and individual subjectivity are culturally constructed. They can thus be reconstructed. Michel Foucault, French philosopher, is considered as an influential theorist of power and knowledge and how they are used as a form of social control. So, Jonathan Gaventa remarks his works marks a radical departure from previous modes of conceiving power and cannot be easily integrated with previous idea, as power is diffuse rather than concentrated, embodied and enacted rather than possessed, discursive rather than purely coercive, and constitutes against agents rather than being deployed by them. Further, he explained that for Foucault, power is neither wielded by individual nor by classes nor institution. In fact, power is not wielded at all. Instead, it is seen as a dispersed and a subjectless as element of broad strategies but without individual authors. Power is ubiquitous and appears in every moment of social relations, and the operation of power are not a departure from norms, or rather is constantly present. Power is everywhere, not because it embraces everything, but because it comes from everywhere. Power is not an institution, nor a structure, nor a possession. It is name we give to a complex strategy situation in a particular society. In cultural study, power structure is being studied as far as a political aspect is concerned, but power doesn't always have to be negative. Jonathan Gaventa elaborates that power is not necessarily repressive, prohibitive, negative, or inclusionary, although it can be all of these things. It is also positive, like Foucault is saying, we must cease once and for all to describe the effect of power in negative terms. It excludes, it represses, it censors, it abstracts, it masks, it conceals. In fact, power produces, it produces reality, it produces domain of objects and ritual of truths. The individual and the knowledge that may be gained by him belong to this production. Power can be of any source: wealth, state force, state action, social norms, idea, or mass. So, as Foucault has said that power is not to be wielded and it does not come from any one source. So, here we can see that as this source is like mass or social norms. So, the mass, like a public, is creating a force, not an individual, but mass is creating a force. So, thus the power it came to existence. Cultural study denies the separation of high and low, or elite or popular culture. There is no such thing as high or low culture in discipline of cultural study. As people have moved around the world, so have their tradition and their culture. In the words of Wilfred Buren, being a cultured person used to mean being acquainted with highbrow art and intellectual pursuits. So, as we know that many of the we have listened many of the time, I am cultured or I am listening to culture, art or music. So here Gurun is saying that it used to happen, now it is not happening, but it is not like that. In For cultural critics, there is no such thing as high or low culture, but it is popular culture. But Buran is also questioning that, but it isn't culture also to be found with a pair of tickets to a popular to a rock concert. So he is talking about popular culture. Popular culture emerged in 19th century, and as it is believed that it was culture of lower education and lower class, which was opposing the official culture, which was upper class with higher education. While some may consider pop culture to be the culture of younger generation, this is not how a cultural critic will perceive or comprehend it. Take music industries for example. Many pop stars are held in a much higher esteem than a classical music composer, but it is important to remember that both are equally important to the cultural world, and to ignore one would mean ignoring the huge chunk of culture means of production. The fourth purpose is to closely relate to Marxism, since both Marxism and cultural critics examine capitalism, consumerism, and so on, which is based on money and capitalism. People might be at a loss as long as the company is profitable. So, uh, the view of capitalist person would be like company should be at profit. Whatever people are doing, it not is a concern of a company. So capitalism is not concerned with the profit or well-being of people. It is about the people. It is not about the people, but it's about money. Marxist critic have long recognized the importance of such uh, paraliterary questions as this: who supports a given artist, who publishes his or her books, and how are these books distributed, who buys these books, for that matter, who is literary and who is not. So, in Marxists have questioned this a long time, and we can see that whatever things we are doing, we are creating a certain pattern in our daily life. So, cultural critics are following or analyzing this pattern. Jeremy Gilbert noted in this issue, cultural studies must be grapple with the fact that we now live in an era when throughout the capitalist world, the overriding aim of government economics policy is to maintain consumers' splendid level. This is an era when consumer confidence is treated as the key indicator and cause of economic effectiveness. Gramsci modified classical Marxism and argued that culture must be understood as a key site of a political and social struggle. In his view, capitalists used not only brute force, that is prison, law, prison, police, military repression, and so on, to maintain control, but also penetrated the everyday culture of working people in a variety of ways in their efforts to win popular consent. Stuart, Hall's, Stuart Hall has also noted for Gramsci historical leadership or hegemony involves the formation of alliance between class faction and struggles within the cultural and realm of important to understand. Hegemony was always for Gramsci and interminable, unstable, and constated process. Scott Lesh writes that in the work of Hall, Abdich, and McRobbie, popular culture uh, for came for. What Gramsci gave to this was the importance of constant and culture. If fundamental Marxists saw power in the terms of class versus class, then Gramsci gave to us the question of class alliance. The rise of cultural studies itself was based on the decline of prominence of fundamental class versus class politics. So, as I have already mentioned, that we people are working in a certain pattern. So, like we have seen the social dilemma, they have talked about how AI or the software is working in a way that the software is able to locate our everyday and every second's movement, and it is possible by a certain pattern like we have created. So that is also applicable to this cultural studies, that whatever pattern we are creating, we are giving a chance to the system or a mass to uh, come forward and comprehend our pattern, and make it in a way that that can lead to make a make a state of force that can lead to a situation like 1984. Like we have seen that 1984 is a totalitarian government, and there is a we can see the state's force in this that novel. So that was all these are works cited.
So, Nilay, my question is, according to you, uh, are these four goals are connected to each other or not?
Are these four goals are connected with each other or not? In a way, yes, they are connected, as we have seen that cultural study is interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary. So cultural discipline or studies is not focusing on any one field or discipline, but it is focusing on many such disciplines like Marxism and feminist criticism and so on. So these four goals are like politically engaged, multidisciplinary, means of production and so on are interlinked together.
Nilay, what is the ultimate goal of cultural studies?
The ultimate goal of the cultural study, we can say that is to bring forward the very archetype or skeleton of our culture. So we can say it is trying to convey or comprehend that whatever flaws and whatever lacks are there in our culture or in us, cultural study is trying to bring forward these flaws. So that's all. Thank you.
Okay, so the slides are visible on your screens. Yes, thank you. So, thank you, sir. So today is the last as well as the fifth day of my presentation on this third season of my career. So my topic for today's presentation is reading contemporary Indian culture through the lens of cultural studies. Okay, so we are having. So first, I have prepared some introductory part. So cultural studies, what is that basically? So it is an interdisciplinary field concerned with the role of social institutions in the shaping of culture. So, but it is related to the culture. So many things are there, and let us come down to the second point. Like cultural studies was emerged in Britain in the late. So before coming in this Birmingham University, so it was emerged in Britain before, say in 1950s, and it subsequently spread internationally, notably of the United States and Australia and Birmingham University, this Center for Contemporary Cultural Studies is also there. So there are three or four seminal scholars who established this center. The very first scholar is Richard Hogarth. The second one is Stuart Hall, and third one is Raymond Williams. And so there are many aspects that the cultural study influence into. Like the very first one is sociology, anthropology also, historiography, literary criticism, philosophy and art criticism, and that is why it is called multidisciplinary aspect. So it is not only concerned with one aspect or one part of the society or a culture, but it encompasses whole within that. And I would like to assert one quotation here. So, in his Familiar Stranger, A Life Between Two Islands, so there is a book, The Familiar Stranger, A Life Between Two Islands by Stuart Hall. He says, from this I can too understand uh, that identity is not a set of fixed attributes. So culture is there, and in the base of culture there is the identity, and identity is occupied by people. And from this I came to understand that identity is not a set of fixed attributes, the unchanging essence of the inner self, but a constantly shifting process of positioning. We tend to think of identity as taking us back to our roots. So generally what happens when the colonials are there, and when you send them back to their country, then you think, okay, we have to get back to our roots. But no, well, it is not so. You have to, but with the certain necessity of critical insight within you. So not just the blind following should be there. The part of us which remains essentially the same across time. Yes, it does. So in fact, identity is always a never completed process of becoming, a process of shifting identifications rather than a singular, complete, finished state of being. So it is not static being. It is always kind of this liquid. It remains in a liquid state. So identities are there. The cultures are also in a liquid form. Like they will not remain stagnant all over the time or through the ages. So we have ample examples of these ages that we are studying right now in this curriculum. So I have put some four goals, and according to that, we will see the present day India's this condition of India, and the very first thing is that cultural study, or the first goal. The cultural studies transcends the confines of a particular discipline, such as literary criticism or history. So before this discipline came, what used to be there? Like if there is a humanities class, then they will not talk about economic. They will not talk about anything that is related to the other than this humanity class. But now, by the advent of this cultural studies, they will discuss all the things all together in the one class. And second goal is this cultural study is politically engaged. So it is not detached from the politics. So whatever politics is going, this politically things are going, it is engaged with that. And third goal, the cultural studies denies the separation of high and low. So as Derrida also strikes on the binary or these binary oppositions by calling it a hierarchy miniature within the culture, and high and low, or elite and popular culture. So we are having this high and low binary, that the superior inferior complex is there, master slave relations are there, as I was referring to yesterday in the research. And this culture, this elite and popular culture. So the elite culture will think we are elite, and there is the popular culture which is inferior to us in certain manner, but then it denies this cultural studies, it denies that. And the fourth goal is that cultural studies analyzes not only the cultural work, but also the means of production. So whatever is proposed before a cultural critic, then he will not or she will not just analyze that work, but he or she will also find the way or the origin of that work, from where it is being produced. That way it happens. And there is a book, the Handbook of Critical Approaches to Literature. So I have taken some quotations from that book. So in relation to these four goals, the discipline of psychology. Now see this multidisciplinary aspect of cultural studies, that the discipline of psychology has also entered the field of cultural studies. For example, Jacques Lacan psychoanalytic theory of the unconscious structure as a language promoted emphasis upon language and power as symbolic systems. From Michel Foucault came the notion that power is a whole complex of forces. It is that which produces what happens. So the power play idea is also coming, and this is the psychoanalysis is also coming by the Jacques Lacan. Sigmund Freud's theory is also there. So many of these disciplines are merged together, are mingled together in the same bowl, and that is what becomes the cultural studies main aspect to be there. And the second quotation is like a tyrannical aristocrat. Now it is very, it is with reference with this power play aspect of this the idea propounded by Sir Michel Foucault. So a tyrannical aristocrat does not just independently wield power, but is empowered by discourses. So it is coming. Yes. Uh, Accepted ways of thinking, writing, and speaking, and practices that embody, exercise, and amount to power. So, how is it possible that a few handful amount of people they are controlling the whole large of nation? So, why it happens? Because this tyrannical aristocrat or whoever these colonizers are does not just independently wield the power. It is not only on their part that they have to, or they are adapt to wield the power or to control the people in general sense, we can say, but is empowered by. So they are also empowered by whom? By discourses, by the discourses for them and around them what is made. So somebody you will just this deify or make the hero of them, then the people, rest of the people, those who are laymen especially, they will think, okay, this person is hero and I have to worship them. In in Judeo-Christian idea, we have this great beings of the chain of great beings. This and all the things like it is like this, and accepted ways of thinking. So the majority of people will accept. Okay, I have to think in that way only. Whenever I refute the fact, then I will be killed or I will be sent into the prison as well. So, and that is why they are feeding on this our fallacies, so the collective fallacies, not an individual. Though it is an individual, but when it functions in the whole society, it becomes the collective ones, and that is what feeds this tyrannical aristocrat is referred to here. Writing. So writing is also the discourses and how the things are going on. What are the talks made about this person who is ruling, and writing. So whatever is written upon them, those who are ruling, and speaking and practices that embody, exercise, and amount to power. So whatever is related to power will be turned out to be the ruling force for them. So from punishment to sexual morals, Foucault's genealogy of topics includes many things excluded by traditional historians. So the traditional historians, so we are having in this new historicism. So new historicism, what basically it does, that it revolves that whatever text is proposed. So it will, the first let me clarify that traditional historians will only see what is the source, what is the single source that upon which this text is proposed. But what happens in the new historicism, the new historicist critic will see, okay, what is the discourse, what are the discourses written around this text. So there will be negative things, there will be positive things as well. So it will not eulogize, but it will criticize instead. So in this, from architectural blueprints for prisons to memories of deviance. So this very term is very good. The deviance, it is the social, it is concerned with the this sociology thing, or the field with sociology, the deviance, that those who don't follow the basic structure. So we are having this four structure as in Victorian, as we also discussed this four structure. The religion, first it starts with the home, then it goes to the society, then it goes to the this religion, and the fourth one is politics. So one has to refute when one think the things are being wrong here. So they are being referred to by these four, this right or right-handed, this right-wing people, like they are deviants. Okay, because they defy the things, the proposed structure. That is what is not liked by these things. And let us move to the next slide. Okay, so Indian cultural scenario with respect to cultural studies. So how the Indian culture is going on in nowadays, because it is unpredictable things. Because present thing is what it is unpredictable. We cannot predict in which how, but we can say in this trajectory it may go there. It will go. We cannot say, but it may or it might go in that way. So the multidisciplinary education system, but we all know that is the new national education policy 2020, though it is a draft yet. Perhaps the Kerala is the first state which has implemented this in its state, perhaps, and you have to cross-check for that. So the National Education Policy India 2020, and it is propounded by Ministry of Human Resource Development, Government of India. Okay. Now let us go. The multidisciplinary subjects proposed include languages, literature, music, philosophy, art, dance, theatre, education, maths, statistics, pure and applied. So right now, generally we are right now having the three streams. The first one is this science, or the second one is commerce, and the third one is arts. But right now they all are mingling together, and we people are allowed to have multiple degrees at a time. So the time management should be there. Like you cannot have the 2 degrees or 2 classes of these 2 disciplines like at the same time. You should divide between them, and it is compulsory also there in this policy. Okay, so the second thing that so these two things, the green one and this pink one, I have taken from the very text, that is the new educational policy, the national education policy. So what does it has to say regarding this multidisciplinary aspect that is there in the first goal of our cultural studies? So multidisciplinary and holistic education across the sciences, social sciences, arts, humanities, and sports for a multidisciplinary world in order to ensure the unity and integrity of all knowledge. So it ensures the unity and integrity of all knowledge. So it is taken from the National Education Policy 2020. And so in this point, the 11.7 point. So departments in languages, literature. So the humanities are being outlined here. The languages, departments in languages, literature, music, philosophy, Indology, art, dance, theater, education, mathematics, statistics, pure and applied sciences, sociology, economics, sports. So all these disciplines, translation and interpretation. So they are here. The credits will be given in all bachelor's degree programs for these subjects if they are done from such departments or the ODL mode when they are not offered in class at the HEI. So 11. So it is towards a more holistic and multidisciplinary education, second part, and higher education of this chapter. So the national education policy works like that. And here I put one image that you will find a person's brain is there. So many things are coming around. So what are they? So one thing you will find here, starting from the cynics also there, and then this videography and the film studies are also there. In this Vitruvian man is also very interestingly put in this. So this structure and archaeology things are also concerned along with the art. In this globalization things and capitalism and all the things are there. So how economics works. So the books and literature is also, so many things are there put in the one thing. So that is why it is called the multidisciplinary education system, and India is putting its step forward in this ideology. So it is the good thing to be seen there, and so there are many loopholes. We will discuss it later on. Not here, then somewhere else. Okay. Now I have taken some contemporary Indian political dynamics, because we know the second goal is that it is attached with the political, or it is not. It is engaged with the politic of the nation, or this any culture. So cultural studies. So why? So now increasing political polarization. So I have taken some things that how politics right now is happening in India. So I have taken some point of views by some journalists, and here is that. And so Verma, political polarization and trust deficit have created a strain on institutions and democratic culture. And since the polarization are there are two parties fighting each other. Just they may be telling that we want to serve people, but there may be the things that they want to be in the power. So that is why this political polarization is there in the trust deficit. So unless we collectively join hands to minimize these tensions in society, the fractures are going to engulf everyone involved. So, well, you just see another thing. This to begin this, now is the time to stop the hyperbole, just to make pomp and show of the things that this and this will happen. But what is there behind this fraud? So, what is there beneath this carpet? We have to look at that. Okay, because see, in these things happen like generally what happens that many people are there. They will tell, because we are not having tree in the barren land, just paint the land green so that we can see the green for the time being only. So it is the temporary solution. But when you go to a realist person and cultural critic, then they will just strike to the problem and they will identify that problem, and then they will give you the saber to cut the very root of that problem that is causing it. So it is the cultural critic thing that to be seen here. It is not just a kind of putting temporary solution on that. And to begin this, now is the time to stop the hyperbole, just to make the pomp and show, and make a realistic assessment of our present and imagine a vision for India's future. So particularly India is being targeted here in that way also, in journalist way. So make a realistic assessment. So we have to be real. Okay, there is no denial of enjoying, but there is you have to sleep. That Robert Frost says that miles to go before I sleep. So you have to sleep, okay, in order to having a body, or you have to enjoy. There is no denial of it, but before you have to go this miles to go. You have to do many work before. It will not just do the pomp and show and the things. These processions are made on the road. by so and so things. And patchwork of ideas are also there, because one governing body is not only for functioning within the one idea, but there are patchworks ideas and all the things are there. Like, so many Indians, I have taken some this quotation, third one is from Reserve Bank of India, former Reserve Bank of India Governor Raghuram Rajan. So Raghuram Rajan, he was the former governor, and what does he say? Like, many Indians, including much of the large youth population, because India is claimed to be the most congregated place with the youth population, remained locked into informal and poorly paid occupations. Okay, so the economic part is also coming by this person. India can't work from the center. India works when you have many people taking up the burden, and today the central government is excessively centralized. So the things, because this very centralized, and today the central government is excessively centralized. So there should be bifurcation, there should be the oppositions also, but now the oppositions are becoming less and the supporters are growing in a kind of teaming of the place, like you can say. uh, and some explicit reference are also being given by this have also been given by this Pilla Murray, journalist. So let us cut to the chase. Okay. So now casteism is also there. Tell everyone we scalp you. So I have taken these lines from this one news channel. Tell everyone news website. So tell everyone we scalped you. Sardar Singh Jatav recalled a group of upper caste men as having, so the casteism. Why this critic, the cultural critic, were constantly being striking on this casteism, because it is the problem. Because it is like talking about the elephant in the room. So there is the famous phrase, talking about the elephant in the room. So you have to discuss what is there. You cannot put it under the carpet. That is why this casteism and all these things, this corruption is also being targeted by. And so you find the things like the cases are there. So the incident from September 2018 was just one among 4,15,821 cases of violence against Dalits that took place between 2011. So still this democracy, still this democratic value, that is the freedom, is still being questioned here, because we are having this up media, up this news channel, those who can just propose this news in front of us. And 2020, according to the data from the National Crime Records Bureau. So it is the governing agency. It is this National Crime Records Bureau body. And in a constitutional assembly debate, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar has also done some good work on that. So in constitutional assembly, when our constitution was being framed at the time, so before 1949, when it was completed, so Dr. B.R. Ambedkar had once remarked that though he has been called the maker of the Indian Constitution, we all know that he generally is referred to as the maker of or the proprietor of this Indian Constitution. Then what he would do, that he would be the first one to burn it. And why would he do so? He said the constitution was doomed to fail if rulers were driven by majoritarian prejudices. So majoritarian prejudices, that we are not listening to the expert's voice. We want majority, where, because the democracy means what? Where the people leads the government, where the people leads the nation. But well, it is not so the case. You can easily fool the people, especially if they are uneducated, if they are laymen. So the voice of expert is needed here, and that is why Baba Sahib is making such remarks there. And until so this. He said the constitution was doomed to fail if rulers were driven by majoritarian prejudices and until society and political representatives were to fundamentally change. So the fundamental change, the radical change is needed in the aspect, in the dynamics of politics, in the society, and all these rest structures are there. So constitutional ideals could not be implemented. So till then, nothing will happen. No change will be seen. So only the problem will be there. Many people will come and identify the problem. They will even propose the solution, but no steps will be taken by those who are there in the power. So the radical change, the fundamental change is needed. So here, perhaps the majority of the images are hyperlinked, so you will get to know the story behind them. And so here it is the interesting, the left hand downside corner, that these unnecessary discourses of the political discourses are there. So you will click on that and you will get redirected to that side also. So let's move ahead. Here I have presented some data on registered crimes, atrocities against Dalits in India. Okay, and the source of the data is NCRB, the National Crime Records Bureau. So you will see from 2011 to it is it is going upward, and right now it is also that after 2020 it is rising. So you just imagine the situation. Where are we standing? As though we want to call, we are living in the 21st century. How can we call that? collectively speaking. There are many few people like they will not do such things. And here is that another this map is also put here. So let us read total incident states duties. So total incidents, the mild ratio is going. So Gujarat is still exempted, but though it may be going in that direction, but here you will find this the northern states like this Punjab is there, or rather Rajasthan is there, and Uttar Pradesh is very having high ratio of this caste discrimination, and based on that the violence that was done to the Dalit people or those who were oppressed or the indentured people there. And let us move ahead. Uh, this Here one thing we have to now this economic part is coming that because we are concerning this thing. Let me show you here. So the studies, the third one, the casteism or the racism we saw, it was regarding this third goal. That was cultural studies denies the separation of high and low or elite and popular culture. So the elite and popular culture were not taken in the reference, but this high and low were maintained there. And coming down to the fourth, we can say this cultural studies analyzes not only the cultural work, but also the means of production. So means of productions are also taken. So let us refer to the economy, how what happens there. So in the second, when in 1899, so before 200 years ago or more than that, let us see how this universality of happening. That Thorstein Veblen, he was an economist, an economic sociologist, propounded a theory, an idea of conspicuous consumption. So how this idea is still related to the date here, we will have to see that in context to understanding the behavior of the leisure class, the elite, their preferences. So how do they behave? What are their preferences and what should be there within them? It was targeted before more than 200 years ago by this economic sociologist, that is Thorstein Veblen, and in his idea, that concept is conspicuous consumption. Veblen argued that wealthy individuals often consume highly conspicuous goods and services in order to advertise their wealth, thereby achieving greater social status. So, but still, general the idea is there when this social status, when it is concerned, that you want to like make a show out of your social, even if you are not having something. The poor things are all poor people are also targeted. That we will come down to the later on. And this people want to look like rich, whether they are rich. In fact, it is not at all the concern, but they want to look like rich in any manner. They want to behave like rich. They want to follow what rich does. That is why it's happening, and that is the idea that is striking at that time, and right now it is also happening in India, being particular. So, in order to gain and to hold the esteem of women, so right now the marriage institution is also concerned. In order to gain and to hold the esteem of women, wealth must be put in evidence. Because generally, personally speaking, I have observed that so many marriage these people are this matchmaker will come and they will ask you that how much land you are having. Only on that basis the we can plan a marriage for you. So that is why this in order to gain and to hold the esteem of a woman, wealth must be put in evidence. For esteem is awarded only on evidence. So whatever you are having is in manner of this material wealth, only then and then how much esteem should be given to you will be decided, or how much we care for you is decided. So that is the very capitalist idea. It was there before also. And one another thing we can be also studied here is that, like, in other mythical texts of this India, that Rama and Mahabharata, so there are innumerable references that people will not, especially the kings, will not allow their the daughters to marry in any poor person. But he or the person, he should be the king, or at least he should be having some territory to hold upon. And then, so this capitalism was also there in that. So we can get to know about this reading between the lines, or intertextual reading of that mythical text like Ramayana and Mahabharata is there. And this accredited canons of conspicuous consumption, the effect of which is to hold the consumer up to a standard of expensiveness and wastefulness in his consumption of goods and his employment of time and effort. So let us put it. Now, coming down to the fifth one, Veblen's work distinguished between two motives for consuming conspicuous goods. So there may be, or there are two motives according to the Veblen, or this Thorstein Veblen. So what are those two motives? What are these two motives rather? The first one is rather invidious comparison, and second one is pecuniary emulation. So invidious comparison refers to situation in which a member of a higher class consumes conspicuously conspicuously to distinguish himself from members of a lower class. So just because to distinguish yourself other, or just you want to show off that you are rich and rest are poor, you will consume certain products that you will run after brands that are very expensive in cost. So you will buy only the goods are there, like you will put on clothes for generalizing thing. Let me give you an example for that. So you will put on clothes of that watches are there, mobile phones you will use. Though see, this utility will not be targeted there, but what will you target? The brand, the social status you will target. And then what comes here is this individuous invidious comparison. So this comparison is there, but it is not on the basis of this utility value, but it is on the social value, social statistical value, right? Status value rather. And second one thing is the pecuniary emulation. It does occur when a member of a lower class consumes conspicuously so that he will be thought of as a member of a higher class. So here once again this thing, the how people will think of me when I will go in such clothes. So especially this poor is having this mentality, especially generally, but not all of them. But that is why they want to make show of by wearing the clothes that the rich are wearing, though they are having not money and all the things. So that is why these two things are targeted. And right now it is very much applicable in India also. Okay, and coming down to the another thing in modern terms, these
You
motives
have
are the essence of.
already taken 25 minutes.
Oh,
So
then let me cut to the chase.
we have a next round then. So try to sum up your things now.
Then let me. Sir.
Very long, very long. Yeah?
Yes, sir. The topics
Normal
are like
time is
this.
12 minutes. Our normals, you have already taken 25
No,
minutes.
sir. The topic. Okay, then I will cut to the chase. Okay, so here are the statistical evidence. So I will upload this on SlideShare, and then we will get to know how this poverty ratio and unemployment are being raised there. So here is the concluding part, and I just would like to quote here a collection of essays that is called Visual Culture the Reader, published on 6 July 1990. Rightly put, culture comes into play at precisely the point where biological individuals become subjects. The biological individuals, that the people, the mass, become subjects, and that what lies between the two is not some autonomically constituted natural process of socialization, but a much more complex process of formation. And here are my works cited. Thank you. Okay, stop sharing. Okay, now questions, please.
Nirav, can studies change the way that power structure and inequalities are distributed?
So your question is, can cultural studies change the way that power structure and inequalities are distributed? So could you please explain, because I'm not getting the thing there.
Power structure and like inequalities, like class.
So your question is like how it can change that the structure led by power, these power structures, like.
Yes, how cultural studies can make an improvement or an impact, or can it change the way that society is working in a structure where there is inequality
Yes,
and
yes.
other things?
Well, it does, but is along I will tell you again that we have to be in conformity with whatever is structure there, whatever structure is there, right? So on that way we have to criticize that. If we are finding some wrong things, like there is no welfare, people's welfare, there may be people welfare when we tell that it may be of the rich, but no, what about the poor? Then if it is happening, then we have to be standing with this poor. Okay, so as a cultural critic, you have to be very critical towards the power. Okay, so being negative here is also positive thing in that manner. So it can change, it can definitely change when the things are being executed by masses. Like the power is changed, power thing or politics are changed. There are many things that it can affect. That way it does. Thank you. Satisfied or yes. Okay, then another question.
Nirav, my question is, why is it important to study literature in the lens of the cultural studies?
Yes, very good question. Is that why is it important to read literature through the lens of cultural studies? Well, traditionalists were used to read literature just the way they were proposed to. Like they just told that this literature falls in this genre, so you have to be in that manner. So first you have to put a prejudice in your mind. Okay, I am reading this novel, so I have to be in that way only. But no, it is not. So this new historicism comes that around that novel, what was the references? What were the references rather? In that way, the new historicism are done, or something more, or still satisfied. Thank you. So any other questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Very good afternoon, everyone. Today is the final presentation of third semester, in which we have cultural studies as our main topic. In which today I'm going to deal with the circuit of culture. Basically, the circuit of culture is a sophisticated analysis of cultural artifacts, which uh, which has a close examination of five basic constitute, which is given by Paul the Gay, and which he have called the circuit of.
It is disconnected. You have to reconnect. StreamYard has crashed again, I think.
Is it? It has a five constitution, which is a representation, identity, production, consumption, and regulation. So I'll try to see this with an example of television, and what the role of television and cinema. What is the role of television in cinema in cultural studies? The television and representation. What does the television represent and how it is represented? The answer to this question is to discuss the centrality of representation in culture. It represents communication, information, and entertainment. The identity of television. We can find a series of questions about cultural and public context where identities are linked to the images on screen. What is the Indian identity projected on television? Do car and mobile phone manufacturers target youth? What about so-called serious contemporary affairs? And what does given in family serials? So here is a survey which shows that there is a number of consumers watching TV shows on TV to 23% from 52% over the past years, as they prefer to view it on laptops and smartphones. So as we have seen that after the pandemic, we have that OTT platforms which gave rise to this web series, and television is a step back in this race. The number of consumers who said they prefer to view these clips on their TV sets dropped even more, from 60%, and only 5% only 5% are added in the survey. So mostly Indian prefers dramatic Ekta Kapoor serials. Major targets is to such the major target of the show is to get the illiterate and uneducated person. So this is the picture of Indian television serials, which has nothing moral in these stories. It has only dramatic scenes. We have that Nagin serial, in which there is nothing to show other than melodramatic scenes, where that Moni Roy and other girl, I forgot the name, but she is named Shesha in this serial, and she turns into Nagin, and then she becomes a human. So these serials has nothing to deal with the morals and the developmenting, helping development the culture. Then there is a Savdhan India serial, which has a concept that there is a case, and then police solves it, and everything happens in favor of the victim. Whereas we have the examples where years and years went, and nothing comes in the favor of victims. And these cartoons are for the child, which connects with nothing but their leisure of time. Television and production, what policies are in these companies, how the recruitment is done, what welfare policies are in place of workers, and how much profit does a company make. So I have taken a Viacom 18 company. In its broadcasts, we can see that a lot of colors channel, and it is in various languages. And this Nickelodeon, Sonic, Sports 18, MTV, each are given here. So Viacom 18 is a media private limited, is an Indian media and entertainment joint venture between TV 18 and Paramount Global, based in Mumbai. It was founded in 2007, and now it owns various channels as well as content production studios in India. Jyoti Deshpande is the CEO of this company. So one good thing that this Viacom 18 private limited company has a woman CEO in that, which is a good start for a woman to take in this industry. In January 2010, Wacom 18 went international with the launch of Colors in United States. In December 2011, Viacom launched Nickelodeon Sonic, targeting young adults, and the Paramount Global has recorded a 27% growth in revenue, which has a numerous crore for the fiscal ended in 31st March. Against it, it has a good mark. The television and regulation, considering the union's government's ban on fashion TV because of offense Indian culture sentiments. So we have seen this word sentiments and Indian together for many times, because Indians can't Indians is the normal thing is Indians can't think with the practical views. They are forever hitched with this sentimental emotions and thing. So, how does the censor board work, and the role of information and broadcasting ministry in television, sales, production, and programs? So why do censor ban the movie? The purpose of films has been always a conflicted. Do they mirror the reality of our times or present an alternative world? The Indian films banned by the Indian censor board or the state's government who dared to speak the truth. Some of them were banned for perpetuity, but the others were later released on OTT. Some had spoken of the political powers of the limit and time, and others showcase the socio-political issues. If you are in the mood, let us see some of the banned movies. list of banned movies in India. So these are three movies I have got. Which first is The Bandit Queen, which was biography of Fulan Devi, and it says that a girl who ruled the valley of Chambal, followed by seeking revenge on those men who becoming a member of parliament. So this movie was banned because of the very idea of this a girl turning into this very kind of daku personality. And then there is another movie is Lipstick Under My Burqa. The movie was met with more than 6 dozen cuts by the Indian censor board for its portrayal of female desire, which it put in front of the center. So the very basic and common thing we can see that the India and the censor board, these both things are going with in not going in the favor of female. We look at four female characters across the age groups and marriage status who pursue their female desire without holding back. And there is another movie named Firak, based on the aftermath of the deadly 2002 riots, who trace the aftereffects of the riots in the lives of an old music teacher, workers, laborers, an orphan, and a married woman with her own ghost. We understand the human cost of riots, how there are no winners at the end of it. The film couldn't be released in Gujarat due to the fierce opposition of state's government. So, Firak is the movie which is banned, and recently we have the Padmavat example of this riots in Gujarat. Because of this religious thing, we were not able to watch movie Padmavat here in Gujarat. How censor board works: all censor board facilities are appointed by the central government. How long does it take to certify a film? The four certifies universal. Another is a UA, which is a universal, but under S, which is super. It deals with the it is for doctors and farmers. And there is another one is A, which means the state the thing that when they when they give the application, so to get the certification first, these are my works cited. Thank you.
Sir, this is not a question for her. Vachchalata, how would you connect today's ban or cancel culture in India with the cultural studies?
See, the ban and censoring is the thing that stops us to watch the truth behind a thing, which makes us to stop thinking about the practical things in that way. So I can connect this by cultural studies is that in cultural studies we are supposed to think beyond, but this concept making us stay inside. So this is how I can connect it.
So, Vachchalata, my question to you is that is the banning of films does vary from culture to culture around the globe? So, if culture changes of any nation or any group of people, then will there be any change in banning process of any movie or putting censorship on that? So, can you clarify this? Thank you.
Yes, of course, it does, because India and there is Europe. So we have that vast difference between these both countries, and it is the very simple thing that India can't accept, whereas Europe is all free to accept everything. So, but banning Padmavat and Bandit Queen here is not necessary there. They might be seeing it in another way, but not here in India.
Okay, so today is the last. It was the last for you now, and the half class remains now. But you are now relieved from the third ordeal of presentations. Only one remains to complete your masters. Okay? Well, so few observations. Uh, Most of you did quite well. Your content was very good on your slides. A few basic rules we should not forget, that when we make slides, it should be presentations are meant for the audience, and if it is only text heavy without any visuals or any moving pictures, it will become very dull and boring for the audience. So you have to imagine that when you are seeing somebody's slides full of text, and you think that when will he read everything, and when he'll go to the next slide, again the slide is full of lots of text, how terrified you are. So you should not make such slides when you see other people and what is the effect on you. So there are basic rules for making slides, which I think we have not discussed earlier. One concept is picha kucha. Picha kucha. P-E-E-C-H-A-K-U-C-H-A. There is a website, pichakucha.com also. Picha kucha means, I think again, net is disconnected. Is it connected? Net is, yeah, maybe disconnected in that one. Okay, okay, but here it is there. No? You are getting the sound also. Yeah, hello, hello. Hello, hello. Are you getting the sound? Doing the sound? Yeah, okay. So, pichakucha.com, it is 20 into 20, 20 by 20, as we have this format of cricket also, 2020. The same is the format of pichakucha also. So, 20 slides, and each slide should be displayed for only 20 seconds. And it should be auto moving. It should be auto moving, so it keeps on advancing automatically. So whatever you display, you have to complete speaking about that in 20 seconds, otherwise the next slide will automatically come. You don't have to change the slides. It is automatic there nowadays, because we are using this Google Slides. We have not worked on the auto mode of this. In PowerPoint we used to do. In PowerPoint it is easy to do. Here we'll have to see how it works, and if the internet speed is not okay, it will not move at an appropriate time. So in 6 minutes and 40 seconds, 20 into 20 means 400 seconds. In that much time, your presentation is over. So you cannot take more than 7 minutes. So automatically your time is controlled, that only within 7 minutes. When we have like 35, 40 students in a day, we cannot give such a long time. You can imagine that if there are like a double number of students, then how much time it takes? It's taking almost 6 hours now. If there are 40, it will take 12 hours. In a day to sit 12 hours and listen the present. One day that goes again for 5 days long. So we have to like presentations basically are also for how to be precise in making our point. Assignments have to be very lengthy. In assignments, you can be as long as you want to be. So there, the skill about how you can make your point as lengthy as possible. Give innumerable examples in assignments, whatever you want to give. That is how to elaborate. That is assignment. How to be brief. Brevity is the soul, as it is said. Brevity means be brief. That is presentation. It is how you can make your point with few words, few slides. So there are several other slides which you can keep in mind, because in the coming days you will have one this workshop for the students, that is semester 1 students, before they start their season, on citations and other things. So then you can keep this point, you can suggest these ideas. One rule is this rule of 7, or it is also known as rule of 5, rule of 7 or rule of 5, wherein in a presentation there are either 5 or 7 slides only. 7 slides, and then on each slide there are not more than 5 or 7 bulleted lines, bullet points only. If it is rule of 5, then 5 only. Rule of 7, then only 7. And each line should not have more than 5 or 7 words also. The line also should not have more than 5 or 7 words. So that bullet line should have only 5 or 6 or 7. Either it is rule of 5, rule of 6 or rule of 7 that you are working. That way the slides are prepared. So rule of 7 is very popular. 7 slides. Each slide 7 lines. Each line 7 words. Not more than that. That way is there. Another is this rule of 2-4-8. 2-4-8. Rule of 2-4-8. 2 minutes per slide. 2 minutes per slide. 4 bullet points on each slide. 4 bullet points on each slide. And 8 words per slide. Per bulleted line. 8 words per line. That is 2-4-8. That is another rule of PPT. 2-4-8. There is this one more, that is 1-6-6. 1-6-6. This is also very interesting. When you have so many ideas, then you can follow this. When you have so many ideas. So one is like per slide, one idea. Per slide, one idea, one example, one concept. Then each slide will have 6 bullet lines. 6 bullet lines, and each bullet line will have 6 words. Not more than 6 words will be there. So that way, this is there. So these are several, there are many such ideas which people keep on exploring, that how you have to be very pinpointed in PowerPoint presentation. That is why it is known as PowerPoint presentation. In Picha Kucha, people don't use any text. They use only images. Only 20 images and you are talking about it. And it is automatically changed. You don't have to see the slides also. It will automatically change. You know it will take 20 seconds and you have prepared in such a way that you will speak it without looking at the slides which is going on in the behind, in the back, on your back side. And you are just looking at the audience and speaking. You require lots of very precise and accurate work for Picha Kucha thing. But it's all only image. But here you can add a few text plus image. So slides should always have some kind of infographic, some kinds of moving pictures, GIF that is to be added. If you are making only text, then there are many people who are anti PowerPoint presentations. And you will see, Google will find that many universities are banning PowerPoint presentations. That PowerPoints are banned. It should not be allowed. Nobody should use PowerPoint because it is becoming very dull and boring. And students just come and read slides after slides. They don't do anything. They just like pick up several things from the materials and then put it there and they read only. So that's why many universities, they say it is very dull process to read PowerPoint, and we have to see that we don't make it dull. We use it, but in a more effective manner. So that is one point that you have to keep in mind. If you want to like think of this, you have to like ask yourself this question: that what is your hypothesis? What you want to prove in that hypothesis? So you can start with a question also. That in this my presentation I will try to address this question, and then to support your question you give arguments, and to support your argument you use resources, and then you give your own conclusion to that. The simple way of looking at PowerPoint: you pick up one idea, question that, give your arguments, to support your argument make use of some critics, some observer who are very much renowned, and then you make your conclusion. So it won't take more than 7 to 10 minutes in which you can make your presentation very easily. Okay, so Divya Parmar was this culture and power. We talked about it. Their slides are very simple slides with there. Two text-heavy slides many of you are making, so that you have to see. Justification of paragraphs, another thing, is very much necessary. We should never make a point that those things are missed out anytime when we make this. Jheel made a good presentation on Paul Virilio about speed and dromology, but it was also very long, and some of the slides were too text heavy. Too much of text was there on some of the slides. Emisha also had the same problem. We discussed that also, like one, to connect this with cultural studies, structuralism, post-structuralism, with giving examples like Vachchhalata and Nirav. They have given good examples from contemporary thing. That way you have to give interesting examples also. Even Mayuri gave the example of the newspaper cuttings. And that also was very long also. So that also you have to say how you cut short and make it more specific. Mayuri also was very long, and it was too text heavy also at some places. So that text you have to take care of. Nehalba, as we suggested, you have to do this rehearsal of. You can like tell somebody to like ask you a question in advance, and you try to answer. And then when they ask, I think you can give answer in a better way. That you can start with, because you are not able to answer the question when they are asked extempore. So then you can tell, and then you can do rehearsal and you can present this. This kind of nautanki is good as a beginner, not as a regular practice. It becomes nautanki, but nautanki is as a learning tool, because you are not able to give answer. So if you use it, it is fine. But that doesn't mean it should be a good practice. It is not a good practice. So every time you should not do a planned question and the answers. Then it is not fair. But as a beginner, you can try this idea so that your answers are properly given. Nidhi presented on media culture and cultural studies. Some more contemporary examples might have been given in your slides also. Nilay talked about cultural studies, 4 goals. Again, that was also very long and lots of text heavy things were there. So at times it becomes very dull things if there is nothing to like visualize also. Even if some GIF is going on, at least the audience can get engaged in only the GIF only. So whatever the speaker is speaking, the speaker can keep on speaking, but the audience get engaged with the GIF, which is repeatedly doing the same actions. Nirav slides are well prepared, but it was very long and very texty. Otherwise, content was very well prepared on the slides. Good examples were also given from contemporary Indian society. And there was this question also about can it make any change also or not. So like literature also makes changes, and those writers who are conscious about such aspect of culture, like there are this kinds of deprivation, or there are downtrodden, or there are a kind of crisis in society which is not seen by everybody, but there are few who are suffering only about that. So those writers write about that, and they become catalyst agent in bringing the change also. So Stewart Beach's novel Uncle Tom's Cabin is considered as one of the very interesting texts which brought in the change about abolition of slavery. So how it was a very interesting text in changing the minds towards slavery, or abolition of slavery in America. That text has played. In the same way, there are many such examples where literature. Charles Dickens has played a very significant role in how people look at poor people, Victorian society, how they were looking at poor laws, and many other such amendments into legal system came because he was there to sensitize those topics, and it was reaching to the mass there. And as we are like nowadays, people are celebrating this Nobel literature. Annie Ernaux from France has won. She also is a glaring example that she also is such a writer who is not there to just do the aesthetics of the things, but she is a memorist, and all traumatic memories, either the personal or universal, those memories she is writing about. And her recent, like in 2000, her one novel was published, which became a documentary film also, known as Happenings. Happening was the title of the English translation. She's a French writer, but in English, and it became a documentary also. And that was about abortion in France. So when she was around 22, 23, and in those days, that was 1960s. She's a very old lady, in 80s now. So in 1960s in France, the abolition was not allowed legally. So how young women has to suffer a lot, how they have to go for illegal abortions, and those things are there. So that text and that agony that is being expressed by her played a very vital role in abolition of this abortion law in France also. And like today, nowadays, even in India also, there are advanced way of looking at the very idea about that. So these are the things that it appeals. All writers may not be looking at culture in a similar way, because it becomes controversial, it becomes very critical. Many writers are happy just celebrating life only. So some writers are conscious about the thing that, because even this writer, Annie Ernaux also thinks that like Kafka, and they were using literature as an axe. She also is of an opinion that literature should be used like a knife, and so you have to make people aware about the agonies of the people, the society, and that are the concern. You use language for that purpose. So such writers are exactly doing this task of being a critic of culture, even in their creative writing. Then cultural critics comes and read those things even where it is not visible. So they read absences. There are writers like Andrew Marvell or the elitist writers who might have not written about pain and agony, or their death is very much glamorized death. They don't write about the death because of STDs or because of plague, as we discussed, Andrew Marvell's To His Co-Mistress. So cultural critic will read the absence also, that why this writer has not dealt with this reality in this way, even though it was a reality of the day. It was a reality of the time. Then also why the writer remained blind to that, deliberately why he has done this. So that way cultural critics, the writers who are cultural critics are writing the stories and making a significant change. And if the writers are not doing that, the critics will come and read the text and read the absences there. That's where Derridian framework becomes very important, that you can read absence also. Why only the metaphysics of presence? Why always put present into the privileged and absence into underprivileged? Why that way of thinking is necessary? You can also have this way of reading the absences also. So that makes the things very significant in this aspect when we look at it. Okay, so that was the last part, and Vachchalata also, some good examples were given. in her presentation also. Okay, so we end this your season today with all the 5 presentations there. In next week, like either Monday or Tuesday, whichever day is convenient to you, either Monday or Tuesday, you have to have one workshop for semester 1 students, and you have to do it on this StreamYard, and you have to do live also, the live and this everything. I won't be here, I will be watching live, but I will let you know how you have to do the thing, so you can carry out the things there. So this live streaming, and the students will be sitting here, 4, 5, 6 and laptops, up till 10 you can connect, up till 10 devices you will be able to connect in StreamYard, and that way you have to do on that. So they will practice StreamYard also, and you will guide them about citations more generally. So Jheel has made that presentation, so you can again make the presentation in the same way about those things, and you can ask other people, or others can also share that what mistakes you were making in citations, that what were the mistakes you were making and how you can reach to a better place, so that you, if you share your real life experience, it will be really useful to them. It will be good for you also, that you are looking deep into the thing, that what mistakes you were making, then in next semester you will not make it. If you will forget it, again you will make the same mistake. If you'll write down somewhere that these were the errors which I was making and then my friends were making, you can do a survey form and ask people that what errors you were making in citations. So then again that list will become very interesting, that what errors or mistakes you were making, that so that you can share with the students that this kind of an errors or mistakes were made, so some of them can work on the mistakes and see that it is not repeated. So that is the aspect one, to show how it is done, and then what are the mistakes which are made, that is to be discussed. We need to put this at least 4 department working laptop here, so that also you can put here, so it remains connected here only. If they come with their laptop, they can put another laptop also here, but at least 4 remains connected, so in between they don't have to change, otherwise it will be time consuming and many of them will not be able to connect things very quickly, so lots of time will be wasted there. So that we want to see, and I will inform the technical assistant to help you if there is any problem with webcam or some drivers are missing, so that all can be connected also. Okay, we end our session here with this.